Hi, thanks for checking out our channel here. This is going to be a hopefully a repair video on this circuit board. This is a out of a Gallagher S22. It's a solar unit they used to make. It's a 6-volt powered unit, and it uses a little solar panel to maintain the battery. But we're going to hook power up to it and see if we can make any rhyme or reason what's wrong with it, and see if we can get the board going. They don't offer a lot of parts for the board. I think the only part we can still get as of summer of 2024 is a transformer. Capacitors don't go bad that often, but these aren't anything special. We can get the capacitor from multiple places. Transformers, on the other hand, that's made by, at the moment, it's made by Gallagher in-house. They make all their transformers themselves. They don't. It's not no aftermarket for it. And they build all their boards in-house as well. This is built by Gallagher in their own factory. So this isn't like a, you know, made in China, made in Mexico kind of thing, and then slap Gallagher's name on it. So let's, I gotta get a connector here that plugs onto the board here. Alright, so like I said, this is a 6-volt model. It needs to be a minimum of like 6.2 volts to really operate at the minimum. Get much lower than that, it has a hard time running because it'll pulse really slow. So I've got my power supply set at about 6.7 volts. That's plenty. Most times the batteries on those 6-volt batteries in these Gallagher units are like 6.4, 6.6, 6.7 when they're fully charged. So I've got the switch. When the board is sitting on the table, down is on and up is off because it's inverted. When you put the board back in the case, it rotates it, so then up is on, down is off. It's flashing and clicking. See it clicking there. It's flashing. Let's put our, sounds nice. Let's put our meter on there. My fence, not a regular multimeter. You got to use a electric fence tester. And we're going to look at this number right here. So we're going to do a no load check, and if this is working correctly, this number should be like 5,000 to 7,000. 0.6 kV, not good. Nice thing is, it is indeed clicking. Alright, now this capacitor right here, most of them have been red. Sometimes they're blue, but they're the same thing, just different colored coating on it. But this thing's holding a charge, so what we do is you grab it by the transformer, take a needle and those pliers, and you're going to touch across the 2 solder joints, which on this one, it's right there, right there. You can touch one, and then the other. Sometimes it pops at you, sometimes it don't. Most times it do, but I think there is a coating on the board, so it could be that capacitor is still charged up, but there is a conformal coating on there, so that could be keeping us from discharging it. The earlier boards, the S17 boards, did not have a conformal coating. There's a conformal coating, I can kind of see it on the board. It starts about right there and goes all the way across, and it's also on the top side as well. It goes from about here. It actually goes across more than that. It goes down here and it goes all the way across there. But we're going to try to put a new transformer on. See if that solves our issue. So let me go look and see if I got a capacitor or a transformer in stock for this model. If I do, we'll proceed on desoldering, pulling it out, and see if we can make headway with it. Okay, yep, I had a transformer here. These transformers are pretty slick on how Gallagher puts them together. Not a lot of brands on their fence chargers do this. They are a potted, resin-filled deal. But see this tube runs along the side here. They do that on a lot of the units. Like here's a transformer for like the Gallagher like M560s, M800s. They got the same kind of tube on there as well, and they do it on their larger like a M1100 and M1500. What that is a long time ago, about 10 years ago, I think 2013, late 2013, they realized they had trouble with their transformers on these smaller units. It wasn't a common problem, but it was a problem. And they're realizing that, because we would get one in, and I'm sure they did too, where it wouldn't be very old, it'd be like a year, 2, 3, 4 years old, and the transformer had gone bad. So you pull the transformer off, and there'd be like a burn hole in the bottom or a crack in the resin, or it just would be bad and you couldn't see no physical problem with it, but then it would be bad deep down inside the coil down there. And what they found was that when they would, the old ones didn't have this tube, didn't have this tube built into it, it was just a little square, and they would just lay the little coil, the wire, the winding down inside this housing here. They just pour the epoxy resin in there, let it fill up, and then they would put it in the vacuum chamber and suck the air pocket and air bubbles out of there. Well, that wouldn't always get all the air bubbles out of it, and there'd be a big one trapped in there somewhere, and over time the air bubble would create like a spark gap inside there, and eventually it would arc across inside there somewhere and burn the winding up. So what this tube is when they put that coil down there, they take like a nozzle, like a little gun with epoxy resin in there, and put it down in this little hole all the way down inside there, and squeeze that, and it fills the resin from basically the bottom up, and pushes it out. So it helps fill it up and help push that air pockets out automatically. But then they do also put it back to whatever you call it, the vacuum chamber, a couple, 2-3 times, to make sure that they get all of it out of there. And that solved a lot of those little issues. So Gallagher's always, one of the mottos is continuous improvement. So they're always trying to make things better. They don't just, if there's a problem, they try to fix it, not make it the same thing for 20 years and have all these problems with things, and then brands get a bad rap. So you do pay more for Gallagher stuff, but you do get a lot better quality unit, I think. We just don't see a lot of their stuff come in. We do get Gallagher's in, but they usually got some age on them, or lightning damage. They don't really come in all that often until they get lightning damage or something physically happens to them. But what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to pull it's got 4 solder joints on there. And if I remember, I've done an S22 board before. I believe there's solder on the front side of the board too that we have. It's a little bit hard to get. Oops, a little bit hard to get it all. Oh, god damn, it's getting hot. A little hard sometimes to get all the epoxy. Not epoxy, the solder out of this, because you got all that. There's a little bit on the front side too, but hold it long enough. This has got like flux rosin stuff built into the. So that's why it helps. It does a pretty good job on its own pulling the solder through. You can see it's pretty filled up then with solder. So we'll just go to the next solder joint. Looks like there's three screws on, 4 screws on this one that are holding the transformer in place as well. Pushing kind of hard on there, because it seems like a little bit harder that you push, keeps that in place and puts a little bit more heat through to it. And see, you just pull it right off there. Move it down a little bit to another clean spot of solder wick. Down just a little bit more, pull some more off. The older ones were a little bit easier to get the solder pulled off because it was only solder on the back side, not the front side as well. And I can see the holes a little wider, so yeah, this one does have solder all. Ow! all the way through to the front side, so I'm trying to, I got some flux I could add to that. That'd probably help it out some. I'm pulling that out. I'm going to go on the back side here and see this. There it goes. Maybe we can speed this up a little bit. And we'll go back on that one right there too. This has got that conformal coating has got on there, and it's kind of getting in the way. So let's. I'm going to add some solder. I'm basically going to reflow solder on there, and that ought to help burn off that conformal coating. I'm going to do the same thing here. And I'll put a little solder on there. That probably help get the yeah, see, that pulls right off. Conformal coating was getting in the way. No, I don't think this transformer is actually bad, but that there's usually a little prong on it that sticks out. There's one there, but this one's like missing. So maybe it broke off at some point in time, and that's why we're only getting a partial reading, because the power that comes out of that little tab there is not there. The tab's not there. I see that one's there. The tab on that one's there. I felt it and I could see it. We'll come back to that one if we need to, but let's go back over here. Alright, let's just see what happens. Let's pull these screws out. See if the transformer pull off there. Nope. Alright, which one of you is still hung up? this one's touching its side there, so I'll push that away. That one's loose. Small screwdriver underneath there to help persuade it. Alright. That's a bad thing about these double-sided soldered boards, and then you can't get to the solder on the back side because the transformer on the front side because the transformer's covering it up. And if I had a hot air soldering iron or whatever, might help this out, but I still gotta get trying to see which one of these has starting to come off. Oh, come on. Alright, it's still hung up in the corner. I'm going to put the screwdriver underneath and put a little pressure underneath. See if we can get this. There we go. One corner was hung up on me. No, all four corners, all four tabs are still there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's let me get something here real quick. I need two things. I need a drink. This flux residue off here. Don't have my rubbing alcohol here handy, or the electronic cleaner stuff. I don't have that. It's in the house. So this does go in a certain way, but we're going to first make sure that all these little tabs are straight up and down and also left and right. It'll just help when reinstalling things. Alright, now it does go a certain way. Let's see. It's like, oh. This way. You see this little stencil outline here? A white line set. Solder right there. Gotta get the solder off the front side of the board real quick. That's the biggest thing that was holding me up, was this solder on this front side. I said the older boards didn't have it on the front side, and it just made the repairs a little easier. This one had quite a bit on it. That's probably the one that's holding me up the most, was this one right here. Come on. Tip my iron off real quick. There it goes. Alright, I think we got most of it off there. All 4 holes are cleared. Let's see. There's little guiding, little pins on here, little plastic nubs. They sometimes get in the way, so I always snip them off. Forgot they were even on there until I tried reinstalling the board. So you gotta get, because then you got to get 6 things to line up, not just 2, or not just 4. Come on, get in there. There we go, 3. That one's bent just a little bit. Come on. There it goes. Alright, let's solder these back on. Alright, let's reapply power. Get my power supply, or not power supply, my fancier fence tester out. We'll look at that number first. Put power on. And we're going to go across these 2 terminals here. Alright, there we go. 6.9 K, oops. 6.4, 6.9 kV, so about between 6.5 and 7 kV, which is pretty darn good. Let's do a 500 ohm load. This should drop down to around kilovolt wise, probably. So this is a 0.22 store joule, probably like 0.15 output. I would guess somewhere in that range. So I think it should be about 2 to 2.5 kV right here, roughly. And we're at 2.1 kV at 0.14 output. Let's see what 1,000 ohms does. 1,000 ohms less resistance to the, less resistance when it comes across, shorten up the unit because it's farther away from 1 ohm. Go back across there. There's 0.16 joule output, 3,000 volts. Why is it so dark looking? Okay, well, working fine. So it was a transformer on this one. Right, we're going to put, so it kind of spark it'll throw. Alright, well this one's done. We'll see what see the sparks now. There we go. Alright, we'll just put the screws back in it. And then we'll call the customer up with a quote. And we'll move on to another one. So if you're looking for parts or repairs on a electric fence box, you are welcome to send one to us if you'd like. Or if we have the parts here for you and want to try to tackle it yourself, that's fine too, if you feel comfortable doing it. Links to our website down below. Fencerfixer.com is our website. And remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, we will see you guys later on.